There are multiple characters in The Rookie that are universally loved within the community, and Captain Zoe Andersen is no exception. But despite all of the praise and love that the character received, the show decided to kill her off before the first season ended. When the episode came out, everyone thought she was killed off for literally no reason. Or was she? In this video, we're going to talk about the story of Zoe Andersen, how she was killed off, why she was killed off, what the fans thought of her, as well as her impact on the show as a whole. Captain Andersen was introduced all the way back in the pilot episode of the show when Nolan was tricked by some of the officers in the locker room. She showed compassion towards him and told him where he needed to be. But this wasn't without reason. Nolan wasn't just some random new rookie that joined the force. Andersen had specifically requested Nolan to join the Mid-Wilshire division of the LAPD rather than go to any other force. She was intrigued by him and what he had to offer the division. She thought that his age and life experience would be valuable, but she didn't tell Nolan this directly, nor the audience. We find out this little detail later in the season after she died, but she regularly showed up as a mentor in the shadows of sorts for Nolan throughout the entire season. The first time we really see this is in episode 2, Crash Course. At the end of the episode, after everyone's shift, Andersen takes Nolan to the side for a minute, asking him if he's okay about what happened. She listened to him, and then told him exactly what he needed to hear, because he did make a mistake that day by punching the criminal for what he did. Then he was told what he needed to do, overcome that impulse. This dynamic between Nolan and Andersen was fantastic, and it felt like the show was going to do so much with this later on. And they technically did, but it felt like it was cut too short. Another reason that she was an amazing character was how strong-minded she was. When the rookies were scared, had no idea what to do, or really needed help, she knew exactly what to do. She knew exactly who she wanted to be and what she wanted to be. And this was proven in episode 3, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, when she reveals to Lopez and Jackson that she always knew she wanted to be a cop and what type she wanted to be. It was evident that the audience loved her, and they were hoping for her to become a very prominent character. And up until the episode, she was. She was in every single episode from the pilot until her last episode, except for episode 15, Manhunt, as she for some reason didn't appear in that one. As the season progressed, we learned a lot more about her through different episodes. These drops of information helped the audience really develop an understanding for who Andersen was, one of which was in episode 6, The Hawk. And this episode highlights one of her best qualities, experience. Having the ability to come down to someone else's level and understand what they were going through with a direct line of sight is priceless when on the force. When talking with Hawk's wife about what happened with him and her son, she empathizes with her, telling her that she knows how she feels, since while her ex wasn't Hawk, it still wasn't healthy either. I was hoping that we'd get to hear more about this part of her backstory later on in the show, but we never got to, and that was really disappointing. I want to jump to the episode of her death, which was season 1, episode 16, Greenlight. This episode is still known today as one of, if not the best and impactful episodes of the entire show. But let's talk about exactly what happened. Andersen shows up in one of the earliest scenes of the episode, but this was just to announce the reversals that the department was conducting and to whip everyone into shape. Then, we don't see her for a little while. But that doesn't mean that the stuff in between isn't important to what happens involving her later. So I feel like these events still need to be mentioned. After Nolan and Bishop go out patrolling, they end up at a mansion with some very important people, one of whom he's about to meet. A woman with a Bentley is trying to tell Nolan and Bishop that the valet destroyed her car, when this didn't happen in any shape or form. There was a scratch on the paint, but there wasn't even any proof that this scratch came from the valet. She is furious and starts to confront the valet, and after a sly comment from him, she pulls out a knife and goes for him. And now Nolan and Bishop have to arrest her. But this is where the problem starts. The knife is still in her hand right there, and as they bring her hands back to cuff her, the knife cuts her dress open. This was the problem. By arresting her, Nolan accidentally cut open her dress, and this was bad news, since this woman was going to ruin his life. Who is this woman? We'll get back to that in a minute. Nolan, Lucy, and Jackson all go out to get food after work, and as Nolan's leaving, a man looks right up at him. This is suspicious, but nothing just yet. That is until Nolan goes to his truck and is shot at dozens of times before the man drives off. This is when we find out about the green light that was set on Nolan by the Southern Front, where now any Southern Front member that sees Nolan has to kill him on sight. No hesitation. Anderson tells him about Astrid, the woman he arrested earlier, and her connection to this green light. She's the baby mama of the Southern Front leader's son, Cole Midas, and he's the one who put out the green light. Anderson then takes Nolan home, where a new security system is set up for him. She assures him that she, with the rest of the LAPD, are gonna make sure that he is protected, and that nothing will happen to him. But she also understands if he decides to not come into work to stay safe. She leaves, and then Lucy and Jackson come to protect him too. The next day, Anderson and Gray bring in every cop they can in order to dismantle the empire that the Southern Front has built in order to have enough leverage to stop the green light. Nolan comes into work and he's brought into it as well. Anderson decides that she wants to ride with him instead of Bishop, and Bishop complies. This ends up being an issue though, since not very long after they start, they begin being followed. It seems like it's nothing though. That is until they take a call to a mansion, and when they get there, they are ambushed by Cole Midas and his crew, knocking out Nolan and Anderson in the process. Hours later, they wake up next to the pool, tied onto chairs, with Cole and his crew taunting them. But Anderson doesn't take his crap. She lays down everything about how stupid this plan was, to capture and torture a captain of the LAPD. This is something she points out is so stupid that his father might even kill him for it. He does not like hearing this, as he tases her and then pushes her into the pool, still tied to the chair. Luckily, she breaks out of the chair and then starts shooting Cole and his crew. The crew starts to run away, but as they're running, Cole shoots Anderson in the neck. This is the moment. She is dead within seconds. It felt like 1 minute ago, the audience was rooting for Nolan and her to make their escape and take Cole Midas down once and for all. But no. Instead, we see the LAPD show up to the scene with Anderson in Nolan's lap while he's staring into the distance, not knowing how to feel or how to act. This was the turning point for the episode, as well as Nolan as a person. We'll get to that second one in a little bit. She's saluted off, and Nolan is left figuring out what's next. Someone super influential in his career that he looked up to so highly is gone, just like that. Gray decides to make a stop back to Leonard Midas, Cole's father and leader of the Southern Front. He tells Leonard what happened and that if he doesn't want to lose everything, he better hand Cole over. And he does. The next day, Gray says that the entire force is going to track down Cole Midas and take him into custody at any cost. The LAPD are there waiting for him, and Nolan is able to make the arrest on Cole. Going on throughout the rest of the season, as well as the rest of the show for that matter, Nolan promises himself that he's going to be the best cop he can be in order to honor her, and he has held that position ever since. Now, I gotta talk about the two reasons why the show even decided to take this direction. For the longest time, it was just one. But there's a secondary, more obscure reason on why the show may have decided to take this route. The first reason that the show did this was entirely for creative reasons. The show has had this in the plan ever since they were greenlit to do an entire first season. They wanted Nolan to have a truly pivotal moment that would change him as a person, as an officer, and as a friend. And that is what this moment did. Alexi Hawley came out after this episode released and explained it fully, saying that the show needed a way to raise the stakes and show that no character was truly safe on the show, and that while the decision to go down this path was difficult, they knew that it was needed in order to impact Nolan's story. I do want to point out one thing though, as it points out the obvious change in what the showrunners intended to do with the show. After Captain Andersen was killed, they have not intentionally killed off a main character ever since. Sure, Jackson West was killed, but that was because the actor quit the show on his own terms. And we've had a lot of near-death experiences with main characters as well, such as Aaron Thorson in Season 5 and James Murray in Season 7, but they ultimately ended up surviving before their lives could be taken. Sometimes I wonder why the show decided to make this large of a move to show that no character was safe on the show, just to never do it again. But maybe that's a personal gripe. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree or not. But now, on to the secondary reason that she was killed off the way she was. Mercedes Mason, the actress for Anderson, came out while Season 2 was still airing on May 12, 2020. which was over a year later. The only place I could find this information on the internet is directly on an Instagram post with less than 10,000 likes on it. In this post, she dives into the struggles that she had while working on The Rookie. These were struggles involving her being pregnant while the first season was being filmed. She was miserable the whole time, not because of the people or the show itself, but rather what her body was going through at the time of filming. She said, and I quote, "I was on set of The Rookie and could barely keep my eyes open or remember my lines." She kept going, saying that she leached through shirts due to milk production, hated myself, and felt guilty for leaving chaos even for a moment. The things outlined in this post were not initially shared by Mercedes Mason nor the showrunners, as when the show first killed her off, the only thing she ever said was a live tweet that is now deleted about her time on the show, saying, "I just want to say thank you guys for being so supportive of the show and of me." She actually does make a cameo later on the show as well, despite being killed off, as in Season 3, Episode 10, Man of Honor, there is footage of her that is shown, and she is the only character to have been killed off that makes a future physical appearance in any shape or form. This shows that there was no drama behind the scenes or any hate for the show, but rather it was just the direction that the show wanted to take, as well as her needing to take care of her new baby that was on the way while filming and was born during the airing of the season. And that is the story of Captain Zoe Andersen and why the show had to kill her off. Make sure to hype up this video if you're on mobile to show me some love, and subscribe to see more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.